Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about dictation, and I'm talking to you about this because last week I was at a writers conference and it was one of the things I seem to naturally end up talking about because it's something I do and I haven't made a video about it, so I wanted to talk about it because I realise there's a lot of people, authors, writers, that want to get into dictation, don't know how and things like that. So I'm gonna just talk about my experience with it. So the question is, why dictate? So I am a fairly fast typist, writer. I can get around 2,000 to 3,000 words an hour when I'm in the flow and I'm away with the story. If I'm struggling, then that probably is down to like 1,000 words an hour. So I'm still getting decent word counts. They're not shabby, but we always want to write faster, and I'm no different. But I have 3 reasons why dictation is a good skill for us to learn. One of those is our bodies. There was a day a couple of weeks ago I wrote 13,000 words and my body ached. My shoulders were sore, my neck was sore, this was like this. When I went to bed that night, I could not sleep. I was just in so much agony because I had been typing, because you're in this position all the time. It's not good for your body to sit in the chair and to be writing like that every single day. There's going to be a time where that kind of use on your body is going to start affecting you. Now, luckily, asleep and some ibuprofen and I was fine the next morning. But I know it's not good to sit like that. And sometimes my shoulder does ache. I have a habit of leaning. So dictation is handy for your body. It's healthy as well because it helps you to move around. The second one is obviously writing speed. The average person types about 50 words per minute. The average person speaks 150 words per minute. There's a difference. And I can type pretty fast. I think I average about 80 words a minute, which is pretty fast because I don't edit anything. And like I said, if I am in the flow, I can hit 3,000 words. However, if I am in the flow with dictating, I can get 6,000 words in an hour. I can literally double my writing speed with dictation. The third thing about dictation is flexibility. I live in a busy household. There are sometimes I can be sitting in my office, but just the chaos and the noise of the house around me means I keep getting distracted. I can't focus. And sure, I could go off to Starbucks or to Costa Coffee or a cafe and go and write. But if I had to do that every day, it gets pretty darn expensive. And I don't always want to go and sit in a coffee shop and write. But being able to dictate means I can actually go out for a walk. I can even take the dog for a walk. I have had times where I have got in my car, driven to the local estuary and just dictated for 20 minutes, got myself 2,000 words and gone home again because I've hit my word count. So it is flexible. You can dictate while you're driving if you have long trips. A couple of weeks ago, I did a 4.5 hour drive. I dictated for about an hour and a half of that, got home, loaded it up, and dictated 6,600 words. And all I'd been doing was drive. So it's flexible. A fourth one is it's kind of like an insurance. You know, you don't know the future. You could fall and break your arm. You could get arthritis, carpal tunnel. There could be so many things. It's good to have dictation in your toolkit for a backup as a writer, because these are our weapons, tools for writing. But what if something happens to them? You know, someone I know recently accidentally chopped off a finger. That rendered his hand useless for months. I know someone who broke their arm. 6 months they were out of business, and you still want to write. So it's a handy skill to have if you can learn it. And I also mix and match my writing and my dictation. I will quite often have sessions where I'll sprint for a couple of sessions and get a couple of 1,000 words down, and then I'll sit back and I'll dictate for a couple of sessions and get those words down, and then I'll just go back, and it just makes it easy on my body. But like I said, dictation is a good skill to learn. But I have some tips on learning it. One of them is to outline what you're going to write, even if you're a pantser. I get my best dictation sessions if I've outlined before, and I'm not talking writing a big outline. I literally write bullet points of what I want to happen in that chapter, and I can check them off as I'm dictating. You can do this as a pantser. Just scribble some notes down before you start dictating. It helps you just to get the words down and not lose where you're going. Sometimes I will actually dictate my outline. I will just randomly dictate what I am going to write about. I'll just close my eyes, lean back and envision the scene and play it out in my head like a movie and then talk myself through it. I don't even have to read that outline to know what I want to write when I go back and actually dictate the chapter, because just doing that exercise for 5 minutes puts the chapter or the scene into my head good enough that I can then dictate my way through it creatively like I would if I was typing. Speed is another tip, and I'm not talking about speaking fast. I've been told I speak quite fast, but I don't think I do. However, when I am dictating, don't be afraid to actually slow it down. So when we are typing, there is a delay between brain and fingers and what appears on the screen. And this is one of the things people who are getting into dictation struggle with, because that delay through the process means we can think as we are writing. So when you are dictating, because you are speaking faster, and I know it's only fractions of seconds faster, it can take away that thinking time. So if you slow down when you are dictating to be like this, then you can really think about what you want to say. Dictation, do you see how I slow down? Dictation and whatever software you are using does not care how slow you are talking. And I know I said that we use dictation to go faster, but even if you slowed down your speech, you would still be writing faster than you would if you were typing the words. That is one of my tips. Speak slower. It helps you too. Another one is take breaks between dictations. Your throat can get sore, your voice can get a bit crackly, have drinks. I write in sprints when I'm typing or when I'm dictating. It doesn't matter. I do it in 20-minute sprints. And when I'm doing a 20-minute sprint of typing, that can yield me 1,000 words. 20 minutes of dictation can give me 2,000 words. And I remember when I first got into dictation a couple of years ago, I would sit down for 2-3 hours and dictate with breaks, not all the way through. I kind of find if I do 2 sprints and then have a break, a drink, stretch, walk around, go to the bathroom, do all the things, come back, do another 2 and just keep doing that, I can get a lot of words and I don't feel tired. If I was to write 10,000 words at the end of 10,000 words, my brain would feel wired, my body would be aching. But with dictation, and I remember the first time I had a 10,000 word day, I felt like I'd cheated because I didn't feel like I'd written. I knew I'd got all this story out, but I didn't actually feel like I'd written anything because I wasn't achy. And that was a real mind shift. But take breaks when you are dictating. Keep your throat lubricated. Have warm drinks with you. You're still using your voice. It's still going to have an effect on your body. Mindset shift. So this is one of the things that came up when I was talking to people at the conference. And they were talking about they just can't get their head into dictation. And one of the things I always say is think back to when you were a child. We are natural born storytellers. When we were kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, we would tell people stories. We would tell our parents or grandparents or siblings or whoever we were with, teachers, stories about our days. We even do it now. How many times you go out for coffee with a friend and you're like, you never guess what? And then you'll tell someone something, or you come back to your spouse and, oh, this person at the supermarket did such and such. We tell stories. We tell them with our mouths. We've had to learn how to type. When we were little and telling stories, we had to even learn how to handwrite and then type. This is just another skill you have to learn. And it doesn't take as long as learning how to type or to handwrite, which is really cool. It only takes a couple of weeks. And I do get it. It feels weird and clunky when you first start to dictate because we have been so used to typing for so long. But you have to give yourself that grace that you are going to learn a new skill. The one thing I would suggest for you is, if you wanted to learn dictation, is that you spend 2 weeks not trying to dictate your work in progress, because that's just asking for disaster. But the first week, get something of your own that you've written and spend half an hour, a couple of sprints reading that book to dictate it, word for word, with the punctuation, whatever system you're going to use. Use it to dictate. And then once you've kind of got used to that, then just try and dictate a random story, not your work in progress, just something, make it up for the dictation. It can be as stupid, doesn't matter. But instead of trying to learn all the skills from the get-go and trying to jump headfirst into dictation to work on your current work in progress and expect to be at the same level with dictation and typing as you are now is just asking for trouble for yourself. You have to learn. Do this in your spare time. Practice. And I promise you, if you practice, you will gain confidence, and then you can start to include it into your current work in progress and try and incorporate some dictation into there. One of the big ones that came up as well was not wanting to speak the punctuation, which I get, but honestly, if you practice it, it just starts to come naturally. You didn't naturally type dictation. You had to learn the dictation. This is just the same. When I'm dictating, to be honest with you, just use very basic punctuation. So I don't go for all the semicolons and this, that and the other. I'll put commas where they're not supposed to go. It doesn't matter. I can correct them in editing. Mostly I will use open quotes, close quotes, period, comma and em dash. That's it. That's the punctuation I used to use. I have a new way of doing things now. I know it can feel odd and weird when you're first starting out, and I have dictated hundreds of thousands of words now, and those punctuation, when I need to use them, just come naturally. I will put them in without even thinking about it, the same way I do when I'm actually typing. So editing was another thing that was raised with me, and how people's experience of when they've dictated is that editing is twice as long as it would normally be, and it kind of felt to them that while they wrote faster, they weren't saving any time because they were taking twice as long to dictate. I get that, but luckily we're in 2024 as I'm recording this, and we have tools for dictation. And I don't know if you're into AI or not, but I like AI. The tools for authors are amazing, and AI for dictation has been an absolute game changer, and I will do another video on this demonstrating how it works. You know, at the moment I'm just talking to you about it, but I use AI now to do my first round of edits after dictation. And so, like the other day, I dictated those 6,000 words. I don't try and overload dictation. AI, I use ChatGPT. I take 1,000 words at a time, put them into ChatGPT and give it a prompt, tell it this is dictated text, don't change my words, just please clean it up and structure it. And it puts all the punctuation in. It's great. So yeah, so the editing, like I said, I'll do another video with a demonstration of dictation and the whole process. I won't have the time for this video, but I will show you how to do it. But talking about the tools that I use, I have used dictation for a few years now, and I started with Dragon Dictate, which was a great tool at the time. It does, or did, learn the way you speak. It was good for accents and stuff like that. It also did transcription, so I used to take a dictaphone out with me, record and upload it, and it would dictate it. And it was really good, and you had to speak your punctuation with that. But then I got a MacBook, and Mac does not support Dragon because I believe Dragon was bought by Microsoft, and obviously Microsoft isn't on the MacBook or on Apple. I then went into dictating into Word. Totally by accident, I was writing Word, noticed it had a dictation thing, thought I would try it, dictated my words. If Word is all you've got, let me tell you, it's absolutely brilliant. The accuracy on it is probably better than Dragon was. I was like, why did I not see this before? I have probably spent my most time dictating into Word. The only thing that drives me nuts is it does not capitalise at the beginning of the sentence. However, if you're going to use Word, throw it into ChatGPT or Claude, ask them to edit it properly, it will spit it out great for you. But like any process, we learn things and we develop, and mine has done exactly the same. I now use an app called Otter, which you can get on Apple and Android. It is basically for recording meetings. If you've ever worked in the corporate world, then you'll know they have meetings and there is usually someone sat there taking minutes. That's basically what this is for. It will transcribe what's being said. However, this is what I used when I was driving. You don't even have to hold it. Before I set off, pressed record, put it in the holder, dictated to it, had the screen closed so I didn't have to see. It was still recording for me, and it transcribes what you're saying. What I also like is it doesn't turn off if you pause. So I used to find with Word, if I went quiet for too long, it would turn off the dictation, whereas this doesn't. It just carries on and waits for you to carry on dictating. The free version, I think, lets you do 30 minutes at a time, and then you just have to start the recording, which is what I use. I am probably going to pay for the pro just so I can have longer recordings, because I do longer sessions, but that's just me. What I then do is I email the file to myself, and then I put it in ChatGPT, and it tidies it all up, and I've got a really nice clean first draft for me to work with. That's my process. Like I say, I'm going to make a video where I'm going to do a live demonstration, but I'm cautious that I don't want to make this video super long. I'm literally just talking to you about dictation. And I'm probably going to leave that here because I'm running out of time, because if you notice I'm in a hotel room and I have to go in a minute. But one thing I will say before I do head off is don't be afraid to try dictation. Play with it, practice with it. Like I said before, use your own previously written stuff to learn dictation. Don't try and go into this with a book you're on a deadline for, because that's just not going to work. It's like trying to ask a toddler to run a race before they've even learnt master walking. Learn this alongside your other stuff and then slowly integrate it into your normal working day, and it will become such a fantastic tool for you. I have dictated full books now in half the time that it would have taken me to write it. And with the integration of AI for helping us to edit them, it is literally like having your own transcription person and asking them to fix it up and send it back to you so you can go into your normal editing process. A couple of final tips that I've just thought about is names. If you're like me and you write fantasy books and you have some weird names, when you are dictating, just use a normal name. You know, if you have a weird name, call the person Tom or Kate. When you go back through editing, search and replace, or even ask AI to do it. Every time you see the occurrence of this name, please change it to, you know, your name. That was one of the best tips. Don't try and navigate weird names for people, towns, places, whatever. Just use placeholders. Another one is, while you're dictating, if you mess up, leave yourself a note. I know I tend to go XXX start again, and I know to look for that and that I've started again. And I'll actually find that if I put it into AI, it cuts out the bits and seems to listen to my instructions to myself and edits it for me. But there are a couple of the tips. But I'm going to leave this here because I've got to head off. Like I say, I will make a video giving you a demonstration of my process and what I do. But give dictation a go. Let me know how you get on down in the comments. And I'm going to head off. Be sure to give this video a like, a subscribe, and all that stuff. And I will see you next time.